everyone, it is Tony Will. I am back with another phenomenal episode of Women In. Ooh, I chose another word. I'm excited. I get stuck on the same word, so this is exciting. Let me tell you what you're listening to, and then you're going to meet my fabulous guest. Women In is a podcast that celebrates women from all walks of life and the people who uplift them. Each episode features incredible voices from my world. We share stories that spark inspiration and challenge the status quo, and remind us that empowering women empowers everyone. This is a bold, curious, and uncensored space where disruption is welcome, forward thinking is encouraged, and change is the goal. I'm passionate about breaking down barriers, not just for women, but for the next generation, including my own kids. Whether our paths cross through the Kalamazoo Wings, Mindfulness Elevated, Tony Will Coaching, or you're part of my family and friends circle, these conversations matter. Let's dive in and celebrate the power of connection, growth, and the people who are shaping our world. My fantastic guest is Kassidy Owen. Kassidy is the founder of Kassidy Lynn Social, a social media agency dedicated to helping brands find and express their authentic voice online. With a firm belief that social media should be more than a mindless scroll, Kassidy sees it as a powerful space to create real, lasting connections. She holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Nevada in Las Vegas. Her work blends creativity, emotional intelligence, and results-driven strategy to help brands grow with intention. Kassidy is also the host of the In Between podcast, where she interviews female founders about growth, failure, and the often overlooked moments that shape us along the way. Driven by a passion for storytelling and purpose-led growth, Kassidy is especially drawn to working with female founders and values aligned that are making a difference in their communities. Hi, Kassidy.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
It is so awesome to have you as a guest, because I was a guest on your podcast. Gosh, it's been 2 or 3 months ago.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's, it was, I would say, darn well, one of the best interviews I've been a part of. So I just want to tell you that.
Well, thank you so much. It was such an easy conversation. And I think those are the best guests, right? When it doesn't even feel like an interview, it's just a conversation and getting to know each other and all the things. So I could say the same about you.
Oh, thank you. I listened. I was sitting in an airport. I don't even know what city I was in. And I was listening to it come out, or when it came out, and I was like, oh my God, that was so, and it was because of the prep work you did. Like, I could tell that you've done, like, you really prepare for your podcast guests. So I want to give a shout out to the In Between podcast, and we'll dive into a little bit more, because it's female centric, which obviously we're both passionate about. So
yes. Before
we get to that, tell everyone how you and I met.
Okay. I actually am forgetting the connection. Is it Dr. Anna Marie?
Yeah.
Okay. Jessica was asking me that the other day, and I'm like, wait, now, because how I run my podcast, right, is like my guest, I ask them for referrals. So now I'm so far down the pipeline. I'm like, wait, how did I meet all these incredible people? So yes, it was Dr. Anna Marie, who is also on the In Between podcast. We talked all things health and just in her journey and all the in-betweens. And then through her amazing work, we were connected and we got to have an incredible conversation.
Yeah. And this is the thing. Some of these people that I have met, and men and women, have been from someone sending me a note saying, hey, Tony, I want to connect you with Kassidy, or a Kassidy-esque person, whether they have a podcast or not. And I always reply to those emails. Yep. I mean, because the power of connection, and I mean, I don't know, it's not something to overlook. So I'm so glad that I love that. I haven't seen podcasters and do that. So what led you to ask? Not that it's a great way to get more guests, but has it helped?
Yeah, it's funny. I just led a podcast summit earlier in the year. And one of the tips that I said in my speech was like, referrals. The reason that I got the idea was because my whole business, as you mentioned, I own a social media management agency, is really built on referrals. I'm just now stretching myself to try to have sales calls and do all these different aspects of business, but it had been totally built on referrals. And it was people saying, hey, Kassidy and her agency are great. And so when I got to the point where I'm based in Vegas, I felt like I kind of used my circle. Obviously, there are so many more people here. I was like, okay, well, what is an easy way? I'm not too big, right? So I'm not able to just, hey, who do you want to see on the podcast? Let me get whoever I want. And so I said, well, each person I'm talking to has a circle. And how about I use their circle? And if each person was to give me 2 or 3 referrals, now I have an entire season ready to go. And I mean, most of the people I didn't even have to vet, right? Like I just looked up, for instance, your bio, and I'm like, oh, of course this person aligns with what I'm doing because the past person who's been on the episode, they've been interviewed, they know who I'm looking for. And I just met with my podcast producer yesterday, and I'm like, I'm just going to keep doing that because I've gotten, one, the best, easiest interviews because they're people who align, and two, they're people that I might not be able to find otherwise.
Oh yeah, you and I would have never connected.
Exactly.
I mean, how I don't even know how we would have.
Yeah.
So that it is so cool. And then you connected me to some other podcasters, our dear friends at Chasing Brighter, and and I've had Jessica on my podcast. I've been on their podcast, and that's kind of how it works. So let's talk about you presenting at it was a podcast.
So our local library actually has a podcast studio. And when I first started getting into podcasting, I was like, oh, I'm going to do it in a studio 100% of the time. And then, of course, life happens and you're like, I'm going to do it from my bedroom here. But when I found that out, I had told my podcast producer, who is a good friend of mine. She owns a podcast editing company here in Vegas. And I said, hey, it's a great business venture for her, right? Because a lot of people are coming in, they're recording the podcasts, and then they're going to get to a point where they want someone to help edit. And so if she's connected, that's a business venture for her. So we had a meeting with the podcast section of our local library, and they were like, hey, we've been looking to put on this podcast event for people who are interested in podcasting. They don't really know how to get involved, and we're going to lead the way. And it was a free event, and we sold out. It was like over 150 people, I think. Actually, Jessica came and joined me. Really? And so, yeah, it was so fun. It was me, Ruby, that's my podcast editor. And then we had some local news producers who started their own podcast. It's very Vegas based. So it was a really great mix of people to connect with. And there were a lot of people there that I was able to connect with to, have on my podcast, potentially work with social media. But my real goal there was presenting on interviewing. And so I had come up with a presentation discussing how I interview and really focus on what are my tips and tricks to put on a good interview. And so one of those obviously is finding the right guest, because if you don't have the right guests, then the interview isn't going to go the way that you want it to. And then another part of that is the prep work. And it's funny you say, it seems like I prepped a lot, because I really didn't. I try not to prep too much. I really try to focus. I will prep main things, usually bio things, website or social. Sometimes I'll listen to a podcast that you've been interviewed on. And I try to pick 4 or 5 main things, right? For you had a TED Talk, that's so cool. But a lot of times in the conversation, what will happen is you won't bring that up. You're passionate about something else that day. So I don't want to keep focusing on the TED Talk if really your focus is the impact you've made in hockey, right? So I try to flow it. And it's funny bringing up Dr. Anna Marie. I went in with the intentions of it being a whole medical talk. And then midway through the conversation, she tells me she made this career switch at 40 with 2 kids. Okay. And you could tell she was lighting up. And I was like, okay, well, that's a big in between. Let's talk about that. And so the conversation went completely a different way than I thought it would. And so I talked a lot about intuition and just there's, the quote, we have 2 ears for a reason, listening versus speaking. Don't be so focused on what you're speaking about. Listen, and it'll come to you.
Okay, so I'm loving this because I do this much prep. If you're not watching this, this is it's a big 0. Because I believe and it's not for lack of caring at all. I view this as a conversation between friends that happens to be recorded.
Yeah.
And I read,
one of the things that I did bring up was there are different types of interview styles. So if you want to be punch, question, don't be afraid of that. But I personally resonate with more of a conversational style, like you're saying.
Yeah, because what I do, I read the bio, and then I have 15,000 questions after the bio that just come to me naturally, because I learn, even if I've known someone literally, I've interviewed my husband twice on this podcast, and he's the only repeat guest I've had thus far. But I know everything there really is to know about Josh, but there's still so many fascinating things that I want to pull those threads and just dive into and talk about more. So,
yeah, and a lot of people don't put their personal life in their bio, right? So someone like Dr. Anna Marie, she never put that she made this crazy career change. Like I would have had to really, really dive in and research. So for her to say that, have that red flag go off, what's your show about? Okay, it's about in-betweens. That's something we need to talk about.
yeah. Yeah, I loved the concept of your podcast too. And okay, so how many episodes have you published?
Oh gosh, I don't even know. I try not to look because I have to go in blind still to make it happen. Otherwise, I'm too nervous.
Yeah.
I'm about to record season 4.
Okay.
We just kind of sat down and strategized that. And, it's like social media. It's a long game and you have to really be passionate about it. And I think with season 3, it was actually it was my best performing season, but I really had a dip after it. And I think it was because I had such great interviews and I was like, how do I mimic this for season 4?
Yeah, let's talk about the seasons. This is really good because for anyone interested in doing a podcast, or there's first off, as Kassidy are talking, there's multiple strategies, and one of which is seasons versus just running, because I don't have seasons. So how many episodes do you have? Are your seasons themed? Tell me the strategy behind that.
Yeah, so in working with my podcast producer, she recommended seasons because it's a really easy way to batch and then forget about it. And also it gives you that pause and that time to reevaluate. Now she has clients that take only a 1 week break, right? And they come back up. So it's almost like what you do. I take more of a longer break. Like I basically took the whole summer just because for me mentally, I needed it. When we started, we were doing 16 episodes total. Now I'm trying to do 16 interviews, 16 solos. My solos are pretty short. They're like 10 to 30 minutes, just usually piggybacked off the past episode, inspiration, things like that. And so, yeah, it's really the focus, though, is interviews. That's where I'm passionate about. But as you know, like people don't fall in love with the interviews. They have to fall in love with you in order for them to stay around.
Yeah, you mentioned this, and it is, if you get attached to the data, the analytics, it's a roller coaster because I can pull my app up every day, and I pretty much do every day to see how many listens I get overall. And I just decided somewhere along the way that I'm not chasing downloads. It's just I'm not doing that. And this is so much fun for me because how often when I get to have a conversation for an hour or 45 minutes or whatever with someone like you, like no offense to each other, but we wouldn't probably carve that time out because we're busy.
No. Yeah. And it's like, how many people do you connect with online that you actually never get to sit down and have a conversation with? And so this allows that conversation to happen.
So have you looked up, I'm sure you have, like I have, the stats around podcasting and like how, like the percentage that get to 100 episodes? And
yeah, we talked a little bit about that on at the conference that we did. And the producer I was talking with, she was like, I forget what the numbers are, but like they don't even make it to episode 3 majority of the time.
yeah, I think to get to, that's the same stat I've heard. And then to get to 100 episodes, I want to say it's less than 10% or 5%.
Yeah.
It's small.
Well, and that's why we can plug Chasing Brighter, Kelly and Jessica's podcast, because I've been running their socials for a while and they talk about consistency. Like they do not give up. They do their episodes every week. And now they're top 10% or something like that. And that's because they kept showing up, they kept posting, and that's really the key to anything.
Yeah, let's switch gears into social media because this is something where I still do my own social media, and let's just say it's like I'm middle-aged. I'm like, whatever, I post. I'm not, I mean, it's funny. I don't know.
What it is.
It is what it is, right? And so, but I'm in an in-between right now where my book's coming out in Q1 of 2026. I'm like, thank you. I'm like, I want to hand it off. I'm starting to experiment with this. So tell us about, like, are you working with people like me? Who are your clients? What do you recommend? Because social media is like this big thing now. There's TikTok. It's too much.
Yes.
It's too much.
It is too much. And I would say the same thing as someone who consumes it every single day and never gets off of it. It can be so overwhelming. And so really the bottom line of what I do versus other companies, because you can get into the nitty gritty of all of it, is I really focus on organic social media. So my agency's focus is really the buzzword brand awareness. So what does that mean? We are making people aware of you online as a brand, right? So for someone like Chasing Brighter, who is a podcast and a blog, we are creating content that aligns with the podcast and the blog to post on social in hopes that people then go to the podcast or the blog. Now, what happens after they get off Instagram is not my agency's job. So when they click that website and they go off, that's a whole other level of marketing. Oftentimes people come to me and they're like, okay, so you're going to get us this many sales XYZ. And I'm like, pause there. I'm not in charge of sales, right? Because social media is one leg of marketing. There are so many other avenues marketing, email, funnels, website, like all of this is a huge monster. And that's why, I mean, big companies have whole budgets just for their marketing, just for the people that are doing it. So I really come in, I make sure that your Instagram, your TikTok, whatever it is optimized. I then create a content calendar. We build out a whole strategy behind what we're doing. Like, why are we doing this? Who are we trying to reach? It's very important to me that myself and my team understand why you're doing what you're doing. So a phrase that I used a lot when I first started is like, we're not cookie cutter, because I noticed that you can go on Fiverr and you can buy someone who's going to run your social with 5 templates and it's going to be copy and paste, but your competitor could do the same thing, right? I'm more focused on your story, which goes back to having the podcast, right? Like, I'm a storyteller. I'm someone who loves people's stories. And you could own an HVAC company, but you have a story as to why you're doing it, or you have a story as to why your team is the way that they are. And so we really focus on finding that and then sharing it. My biggest goal is that, someone like you, for instance, when someone's on your socials and then they go and they buy your book and they read your book or they listen to your podcast, it's all aligned. It feels like Tony the whole time. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I've been very proud of, is like, when I work with a client or I'm working with someone who potentially wants to work with me, I send them my whole client roster that I'm currently working with. And you're not going to see same anywhere. Like, everybody is so different and so specific. And I'm really focused on who you are and why you're doing what you're doing.
How do you keep all that straight? Okay, because I have a hard enough time I do 3 social media platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, and that's all I do. And I'm just like, it's just Tony Will, yep. Right? So, yep. How do you stay organized?
Well, I'm working on meditating more. That's one. But I'm so there's I guess you would call it a personality test called the Colby. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but
I'm not, but I'm intrigued.
Okay. There's someone that I need to connect you with to have on your podcast, because she is a world of knowledge. Yes. So I was in a mastermind and I took the Colby test. And this test basically tells you your motivators as a human, as a business owner, all the different things. And I learned so much about myself. And one of the things I learned is that I am someone who is what they call a fact finder. And so for me, as long as I have the formula, if you will, then I'm good, right? So I have created a formula that when someone onboards, this is what we do, and we kind of copy and paste to learn about them. And then within that, building all their different content calendars. And then I probably spend, an hour and a half to 2 hours a day going through each client's Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, all the different things, checking comments, because we run everything, right? So like, the client is completely hands off. They're just there approving that the content goes out. So I'm checking, like, did they get a DM that needs to be answered, or a comment, all those different things. So it takes a lot of energy and patience and time. And my goal is definitely to scale it where I'm out of those day-to-day things and I have account managers running it. And I would love to be more on the storytelling directive side. But for now, I enjoy it. It's fun. It's all things that we've created. So it's exciting to go on and see it in fruition and then hear from the client like, oh my gosh, so many people are commenting on this account and I'm loving what I'm seeing.
That's awesome. And so do you have a staff or a team that help you?
Yeah, so we're a staff two right now, but I have my assistant, Catherine, who I've been in business for 4 years and she's been here for 3. And she's my greatest gift ever. She helps me so much. And it's one of those relationships where it really just clicks in the sense that she understands what we're doing and she understands why we're doing it. And then she's also extremely creative. So I lack I'm working on it. A lot of the creative sense of like, okay, let me edit this reel, let me do this. She is very up on trends. She's good at video editing and all of those things. So she's definitely been someone that I am nurturing and hoping to expand more with her first and then hopefully grow the team more.
How is it Colby with a C or K?
Kolbe.
Oh,
Colby assessment.
yeah.
And I think you can take it. It's like $50. Actually, I had Catherine take it too. And it was funny because I had re-strategized the business earlier this year. And I was like, okay, Catherine's based out in LA. So I was like, I'm going to do these reach outs and I want you to reach out in LA. And then this is just going to explode. And then a couple months later, we take the Colby and come to find out we're identical, like identical personalities, motives, which for a business can sometimes be like not the greatest thing, right? Because you want someone who's different than you. But it was the greatest thing to learn because what I realized is even though we're the same, one of us is extremely motivated by business and the other one just wants, if I give her the formula, she will create it and it will be perfect. But she's not willing, her personality is not someone who's going to go out and be the shark and get all the clients.
Right.
That's not her. So instead of forcing that into her and being like, hey, you're going to do this, I said, okay, here's a bonus if you end up doing it, but no pressure. Here's what your job is. And then I take that on as the business owner. And so if you run a team, I highly, highly recommend the assessment because it will teach you so much about, and they even have it for spouses, you can take it for your kids. And it's really a tool that you can use to better understand yourself as well as better understand those around you to communicate better and effectively work together.
Well, yeah, well, I'll be looking that up because I love all things assessments. Like I grew up
Yes.
in this space. My dad, was an executive coach, and so I was taking these things, but I'd never heard of
Oh,
this.
you would love
So
it. It's incredible. And another thing, it's funny because when I first started working with my podcast producers, so she's what they call a quick start, which is this is a classic entrepreneur. They get an idea the next day, the Instagram's built, they're going to find funding. Like they're dreamers, right? Like there's nothing stopping them. Whereas I'm more like, I need a plan. It'll happen in 2 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we started working together and I was like, nothing's getting done. Like nothing is getting done because for me, I didn't receive a form. I didn't get a honeybook order, like nothing. For me, in my agency, if we started together, you would have received 6 emails already, Yeah. And so I sat down with her and I said, hey, this is who I am. And for me, I really need updates. I need structure. I need a printed paper that's telling me this is what you've done and this is where we're going next. And so now she knows that. It's not that she was doing anything wrong, right? All the work was being done, but she was not communicating it in the way that I needed it. And so I was able to communicate that to her. And now our process is much better because she's developed something that works for both of us.
Yeah. Well, and what a great example of how understanding how someone else is hardwired helps, and you understand how you're hardwired and how you can work together, or if you're similar. It's not surprising that you hired your assistant because you guys are so similar and we're attracted to people that, oh my God, they're just like me.
Yeah. Well, and I think so many times like people can maybe cancel using an agency or a freelancer, and it's not because they're not good, it's because they don't understand each other. But you have to understand that their zone of genius might not be where you're looking, right? So like you look, you communicate, you understand things in one way, but what you need might be the opposite. And so if you just give up on them instead of trying to work it out, you might be doing yourself a disservice because at the end of the day, it's so valuable that Catherine is the way that I am. But going forward, I'm probably going to have to hire someone that's a little bit more of a dreamer, a little bit more aggressive, that is like not scared to go out and do those things. Because her and I are over here like, we can wait a couple more months. We'll wait. Like we're just more patient.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you see the number one mistake people make on social media? in your
Oh
opinion?
gosh, number one, I think lack of thought in what they're posting. It's very easy to make 7 graphics that your podcast is starting or your new book is starting and then leave it there. I think they're also for sure lacking storytelling. I think bigger brands do it pretty well. Obviously, everyone knows why Nike's in business, all these different companies. But as a smaller business, you have to be explaining and communicating to your audience why you do what you do. And it's funny because my business page, my Kassidy social Instagram, has been super educational in like the past 4 years. And lately I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to be fun and creative. I'm going to practice my reel editing and I'm going to just like post some fun stuff. And anytime I post a personal reel or attach it to a story about my personal why, it does so much better than anything else.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because people are, they're connected. It's pulling at their emotions, right? And so a lot of times when people come to me and we first sit down and do a strategy and I'm like asking them all these questions about why they do what they do, they're like, wait, what? I thought you were going to edit reels for me. And it's because it's so much deeper than just why make a post. And that's where it starts to then eventually get the reach, the followers, whatever you want, is like why you do what you do.
What social media platform, in your opinion, is like the best one to be on? Like if you were to pick one, what one would you be on?
So it definitely depends what you're doing and why, of course. But I'm a huge Instagram lover. That's my favorite platform. I would say, let's talk about you and your types of businesses. I would say your ideal audience is probably on Instagram.
Yeah.
Maybe Facebook. LinkedIn is a great one for established of authority, but like I'm not going to sit here and be like, you need to be on Pinterest and TikTok. Like those aren't necessary. If you're an influencer, if you're trying to build more of an influencer creator brand, TikTok is a great place to start. Mm-hmm. And the thing with TikTok is in order to grow, you kind of got to be pretty controversial, which that's not great for every personality. So yeah. I personally love Instagram. I think a lot of businesses can work on there, but sometimes some people don't need to be on social media. For instance, I worked with a guy in insurance for about 4 months and we tried so hard. And it's just like, hey, insurance is not sexy. He was not willing to do these fun videos and dance to get, and that's fine. He can have a really solid website and go out and do other things. And that marketing is going to work so much better than him spending money on me when I'm pulling all these different things and it's just not working for his brand.
I love hearing that it's not all like social media or bust, that there are, because you're 100% correct. As someone that runs a professional hockey team and understands marketing and social media budgets, and then the whole budget as it relates, that's just one arm, because I have a sales team that's out there grinding, because it's like planting seeds in all these different areas, and you're stacking this stuff in a certain order in all different places. But it doesn't mean that one seed of social media has to be there. It could be a website. It could be a billboard. It could be it could be an ad in your local newspaper, depending on what city you live in. If you live in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and they still print a fuck ton of papers. So
well, and that's the thing, right? Is people when you have an idea and you're so passionate about it, you're like, okay, that social media is often the first marketing type person besides maybe a website that a small business owner will go to. And they're like, we're going to increase sales and you're going to help me do this. And it's like, whoa, slow down. Because if I look at someone like you running a hockey team, right? Like, okay, well, maybe someone saw a social media post that led them to your website, but also maybe they had a sales conversation. And after that conversation, they followed you on social media. And that's going to close it, right? Like there's so many different moving parts. And I know not every business owner has the budget for that. I'm one of those. But social media can be a really, really good place to establish your brand, because some people aren't going to websites now. They're only going to your social media. Food is a really good example of this. I'm a consumer where if I'm going to a restaurant, I don't go on Yelp. I don't go on their website. I go to Instagram and see maybe a food influencer posted about them or what their restaurant looks like, because it's all food pictures, right? So you just have to utilize, I would say, utilize your social media experts to really narrow down where you should be and why you should be there. But know that if you're listening to this and you run a business, social media will not be your one and only for sales. It will not run your business. You still have to run it.
How do you balance, because social media it's a great tool to put yourself out there, but it also gets a bad rap because of mental health and spending too much time on it in comparison, and everyone living this beautiful life that's all bullshit and all this stuff. So how do you, working in this, stay grounded, and if you get a social media, like you need a detox, tell me how you.
Yeah. I go through ups and downs. I really do. One of the best things that I did for myself, like about 6 months to a year into business, was hire a personal trainer. And so as I was building the business, I was building and learning fitness, nutrition. I mean, we did macros and all of those things. And it was so good for me because now I'm very on top of fitness. For me is part of my mental health, right? So me going to the gym, me taking a walk, just standing in the sun is very, very important. As well as food, fuel. Like I just learned so much about myself. Actually, it's funny because this week is one of those weeks I had a client who is one of my bigger clients, and we had something go viral, and it was not in a positive way when we thought it would end positive. And so it's been pretty much last thing I do before I go to bed is check this TikTok, and then first thing in the morning, which is not something I normally do, right? I usually put that stuff away at 7 and I'm not thinking about it. And sometimes then I'm consuming personal. So the consumption is obviously something that I have to balance, and I focus on other avenues. I'm a big reader. So a lot of times if I'm taking a walk or if I'm, even just eating lunch, right? What do most people do when they eat lunch? They go and scroll their phones in between work. For me, that's technically like I'm working, right? So I try to read my book or do something else if I'm wanting to stay active. And at the end of the day, I am a big believer in therapy. Mm-hmm. I do take antidepressants, and those are something that has changed my life and allowed me to do the things that I need to do to get better, right? It's allowed me to lift the fog and have community, go out and do things, exercise, meditate, like I mentioned, like all those good things. But one thing that I try to remind myself all the time is something my business coach told me. Again, going back to the why. I started this business because I had really played around in different industries, right? And I was like, I don't want to work for someone else, but I also don't want to have to be anywhere else all the time, if that makes sense, right? Like if I have a 9 to 5, I have to go into the office unless I'm virtual. In college, lost my brother to leukemia. And one thing that like hit home was I was so blessed that my mom was able to quit her job. My dad kind of went back and forth so that we could have someone with him at all times. But in the pediatric unit, there would be kids who would be alone during the day because their parents couldn't afford, they had to go to work. Mm-hmm. And I just did not want that to be my life. If something happened, I wanted to be able to drop everything and still, okay, I can open my laptop when I get there, but I could be present. And so I always try to remind myself, like, I'm very close to my nephews, and sometimes when I go and hang out with them middle of the day, I get guilty and I'm like, oh, everybody in the world is working and I'm not. And I have to remind myself, like, but this is why you built what you built, right? Is your clients are all fulfilled. They don't care when you do the work as long as it's done, right? So if my goal was to build a business where I could drop everything to be where I wanted to be, then I'm living that goal, and that's success. And so for me, even though all these things are hard, it takes a lot of time, I manage it well. And there's like this weekend, I'm going to need to take a big detox and like go on a hike or do certain things where like my phone is off. But it takes time to learn those things. And you also have to learn what works for you. I know that my job would not work for everyone. I work with a couple companies who have marketing divisions. And the marketing people are like, hey, we're not checking social most of the day. And that's on me. Because for them, that's anxiety. And so I think I manage it well because I focus on my why. And I also something that I'm big about is like, for instance, this negative stuff that's going on with a client right now. Obviously, it's not my business, but I don't take any of it personally. And they are talking about the video and all this part. And I was involved in the concept and all of this. And I told the founder, like, it is press. Press is better than no press. Unfortunately, it's taking negative, but it's also not devaluing anything that we do. It's not going against our values. They're not saying anything that we did that goes against who we are. So at the end of the day, all of this, 100% of it is opinion based, and they're entitled to their opinions.
Well, you know what they say about opinions. Something about assholes and opinions. Anyways, everyone has them.
Hey, that's true. And you know what? We live in a world where they're allowed to speak them. So at the end of the day, that sucks.
It does.
But they are allowed to speak those opinions. And I think a lot of times the smartest thing you can do as a founder is have a team that looks at it and you don't.
Right. Well, and it's a choice. I have to remind myself of that. You know, I have a public facing job, and if I put stuff out on social or it's just part of the territory. Is it right? Is it just? Is it fair at times? No, but it's a choice that I made. And so I can relate and also have to coach myself through it at times. But yeah, it's tricky. Okay, you mentioned there are two paths I want to go down next.
Yep.
First, you said reading, so I have to know what you're reading.
So actually, right now I'm reading The Teacher by Frida McFadden.
Yeah.
Are you a Frida fan? Have you read it?
I have got some. I don't think I've read Teacher, but I got some of her books over here. It's great.
Okay.
Yeah, fun read.
It just took a little bit of a twist that I wasn't expecting, but I actually have only ever read personal development until 2024. I had joined a book club, and I was just trying to get more social. And they, of course, at book clubs, do not read personal development, if you didn't know. So I got handed seven lives of Evelyn Hugo.
Yeah,
and it was like Seven
Husbands.
Husbands. Yes. I was like, what is happening? Like, I'm going into a different universe. I don't think about myself at all. I'm thinking about her and her life. And I became obsessed. And so, I try now, because I don't read any personal development. In between listening to podcasts, I'll try to do an audiobook, but I love it. I'm a big Abby Jimenez fan. That's another author I love. If you like an easy love story, it's just like when you're in this universe of seriousness and everything's perfect, like to go to a book where you're like not sure how things are going to end, and it's just exciting. It's fun. And yeah, it's one of my guilty pleasures.
For sure. I read both professional development and just for fun. And before bed is when I read my for fun stuff, because I refuse to read professional development before I go to sleep. I don't need to be thinking about more work. I do enough of that.
No, and if you're struggling falling asleep, one of my greatest hacks is you take your magnesium, whatever your supplement of choice is, start to read your book, lights off. You will literally be falling asleep in 2 seconds. Like, especially if you have a Kindle and the lights can be off.
100%.
Best sleeping hack.
Yeah, I have the Kindle app on my phone, and so I've been reading on that. And it's like last night I was fighting it. I'm like, I really want to get through like at least 5 pages. I'm like, nope.
So I had a Kindle and I sadly dropped it in the pool and it was a goner. And so I have had to read on my phone, which I don't love because I'm on my phone so much. But I found this trick on, of course, social media where you can set your phone to, when you click it 3 times, it turns to red light. And red light will help you because if you're on your phone before you go to bed, it's triggering your brain to not go to sleep. So now I've been putting my phone on the red light version, and it's essentially like the Kindle. Like, it's not waking my brain up. So you'll have to search that and add it to your phone.
I am going to search this. Click it 3 times. Okay, I'm writing this down too.
Yeah, it's
Red
a
light,
setting.
Google search. Okay, because
Yes.
I'm in love with this too. You're teaching me so much stuff. Okay, you mentioned your mom, but let's talk about the women in your life. So who are the women that have shaped you into the young woman you are today?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, of course, my mom. She has been such a fighter. She's built a couple different businesses. So I get my entrepreneurial spirit from her. And she obviously helped she did raise 4 of us. in one of them now in heaven, but she really did that all and sacrificed a lot of herself to be able to take care of my brother. And then alongside that, she had started a foundation, a nonprofit to help with other children that were battling it that she met. And she's got a big passion for specifically moms and parents, and she calls them warrior moms, and those are the women that she kind of connects and helps with them really taking care of themselves. And so after my brother passed, she started her business, which is Warrior Strong Wellness, which is a supplement brand, and we give back to childhood cancer, and it's a family business, so I of course run the social. Nice. But it's really cool to get to see her build that whole business in honor of my brother. And she just actually was awarded by St. Baldrick's, who we give back to, as one of their highest donors. So definitely my mom, of course.
What's your
my
mom's
sister's name?
Mary. Wow.
Yes. I'll have to connect you with her too, because you guys are in the same realm of, what you do and what you're passionate about. So she'd be a good one.
Jessica of Chasing Brighter brought her up, and I don't know if I was on her podcast, she was on mine, and I was like, I need to meet your mom. And
so that's actually, it's so funny because that's how I connected with Jessica. I was actually a Pilates instructor in past life, and my mom would come to my classes, and her and Jessica connected, and then all of it happened. So yes, Jessica takes her product, so does Kelly, and my mom's really passionate about menopause right now, so her page is really focused on menopause wellness. So she would be a great addition, especially for your listeners.
And for this girl who's perimenopause.
Yes. I'll connect you for sure.
I want to talk about it. This will be great.
Yeah. Yes. No, she
Mary,
loves all the things.
I'm in my way.
And then, of course, my sisters, my first younger sister has 2 little boys. She's a nurse. And just getting to see her grow and flourish as becoming a mother, and a mother to boys nonetheless, is so just a blessing in my life. She's such a good mom. She's so intentional. She's always reading about, how she can heal her issues and her things so she can be better for them. And then, teaching, just raising emotionally intelligent young men, I think is her priority. And she already has my 3-year-old nephew has so much empathy, and you can just tell he knows. He'll always say I'm happy now after he's sad. He just understands emotions so well. And I think that's all kudos to her, because a lot of times men are not taught those things, and to be teaching them at such a young age where he can understand how he feels and express that is huge. And then my youngest sister, she is also a business owner, and she is a tattoo artist, which is such a cool thing. Yeah. And she's drawn her whole life, and then she went to esthetician school and kind of started microblading eyebrows, and then found the passion for tattooing. And she's just always killing it, always doing all these events, and just living such a creative life that fits her so well. And I think that's the dream, right? To live the life that you were meant to live. Yeah. But besides that, I do have to mention there's 2 little girls that I nannied from, started nannying them when the oldest one was 2 months, and now they're 14 and 15. Oh. And I actually go visit them all the time in Florida. So if you ever see me in Florida, that's who I'm visiting. And their mom is a huge inspiration in my life, because I've basically grown up with her. I was in high school when I started working for her, and now we're just kind of best friends. And then both of her girls have just totally transformed my life, because every single thing I do or how I speak to myself, I always try to be would I say this to Gianna and Francesca? Would I want them to say this? Would I want them to experience this relationship or this job interaction? And just how I have chosen to talk to myself and lead is totally impacted by these 2 little girls that I've seen develop over the years. And they're just blessings in disguise. They don't even know the impact they've made, and they're 14 and 15. So I can't even imagine when they're older. But yeah, I mean, besides that, there's so many different women creators, women business owners. I have so many women business owners that are just iconic, and I could sit here and talk about it all day. But women in life, women in business, women in all these things are my inspiration, because we really do it all, right? We are leading businesses, we are building relationships, we're taking care of ourselves, and guess what? We're taking care of everybody else along the way.
Yeah. How would you fill in the dots for women and for you? So women in, and I
Yeah.
put those three dots there because when I first decided to launch this podcast, it was going to be about women in sports. And then I thought, no, I want to go broader than that because we have so many different identities. So how would you fill in those dots for you?
Gosh. I was trying to think about this when I was getting ready this morning because I'm like, I need an answer. I would say, let me think. I would say women in love, in the sense that love truly is here because of women, right? I think I'm super passionate about knowing the masculine versus the feminine,
Mhm.
and women really bring that empathetic side to society and to the world as a whole.
Yeah.
And we grant people the permission to love, to be themselves, to love others, and to lean into who they truly are.
Oh my God. What a thoughtful answer. I have not had that answer before. So
Really,
yeah.
it kept popping up, and I was like, I don't know if I want to say it that way. I don't know how to say it, but I liked how I said it. It
I'm
truly is.
on. It's very thought provoking and so true. I mean, just research on women leaders in the workplace. Women are better leaders because of what you're speaking to, the empathy side, the compassion side, and also the ability to multitask be a mom, be a boss, be a wife. Like we're
Yeah.
wearing so many.
One of my favorite women mentors, if you will, she doesn't even know me, but is Sarah Blakely. Do you know Sarah Blakely? She started Spanx.
Yeah, oh yes, I was going to say, why is her name
Yes,
familiar?
you would know
Yes,
her.
and I wear them.
So
So
if
yes.
you are not a women, especially a women business owner, but a woman in general, and you don't follow Sarah on Instagram, you're about to fall in love because she is so funny. She is so real. The way that she's ran Spanx, people bring their kids to work. You're basically on this freedom time scale where you can go if your kids get sick, go work virtually. And she's really driven about changing the culture because of women. And she really embodies that, in my opinion, because she really leads with empathy. And she also shows you, like, this is a woman who, let's say, is a billionaire, probably above. And she's showing, like, my nails aren't done because I had to take 4 kids to the sports world today, right? Like I'm sure she has nannies, I'm sure she has all the things, but she's very relatable to me in the sense that she is doing it and like not doing it perfectly. And that's
Yeah.
life. But she's leading with love. She's leading with empathy. And if you're a women business owner, she does I don't know if you would call it a giveaway, but she does a program every year called the Red Backpack program. Correct me if I'm wrong, but she basically had this red backpack when she was starting Spanx, and she would take the red backpack everywhere to all these meetings with Nordstrom, wherever. And so now she gives out a red backpack with a grant for women business owners to go out and take their red backpack and build the business of their dreams. So highly recommend her.
I'm gonna have to follow her too.
Yes.
Awesome. This has been such a awesome conversation.
Yes, it has.
So I'm just so inspired by you, and I know it came up when you interviewed me, but just for the audience, if you're not watching this and you're listening, Kassidy is young and just such an up and comer. You're not even 30 yet, right? You're in your
I
20s.
just turned 30. When we interviewed, I wasn't 30 yet, but I've
So,
had birthday
okay.
since.
You're just 30 years old, and you've really just the wisdom you have and the maturity and what you've accomplished in your short 30 years. Like it's just I hope my daughters who are
Oh.
23 and 18 are just where you're at when they are 30. So
Well, thank you so much. It's really been people like yourself that have mentored me, and that, I try to put my ego aside and listen to, because the people ahead of us do have the wisdom. And if we're willing to be open and listen to it, then we're going to grow a lot faster.
yeah, and I love that in your 20s you're reading like personal development books. Like that.
Yes, almost to a downfall, but yes, no, I love it. And now, I mean, if you're not a reader, everything's on audio, and podcasts like these, like, oh,
Yeah.
I learned so much, so
Oh
much.
yeah, so much. So if people want to connect with you, Kassidy, where do they find you?
Yeah. Okay. I'm all the places, of course. Personally, I'm Kassidy.Owen on Instagram, and that's Kassidy with a K. I have a business page. If you go to my personal page, all is linked there, but I have a business page called at Kassidy Lynn Social. It's Kassidy with a K. And then my podcast page is at In Between Convos. And I always like to tell any women listening, if you have an in-between moment that you feel like is impactful and you want to share your story, please send me a DM, send me an email, connect with Tony and she can connect us, because I'm always looking for guests and I want them to be everyday people. I want to be talking with people who have incredible stories, because we always do.
I'm going to connect you with someone too. I just wrote her name down.
Yay.
I'll send an email connecting you both, because she'd be
Awesome.
great. So
Love it.
fabulous. Well, thank you, Kassidy. If you
Thank
all are
you,
looking to
Tony.
connect with me, I am not hard to find. kwings.com for the hockey side of my life, and then everything else related to living alcohol free, my book coming out, the TEDx talk, coaching, tonywill.com. So you can find everything there. And until next time.